Colonel Kim Do-hyun led his Marines through the dark streets of the Keith capital city, searching for Commander Vex. The alien who had murdered the Healing Dawn crew was hiding somewhere in the maze of buildings and tunnels Earth scanners were tracking, heat signatures and electronic devices. The Keth civilians cowered in their homes as human soldiers marched past. Their windows were dark and their doors were locked tight. They had heard about the destruction of their space fleet and knew that resistance was hopeless. 3 days after the battle, Marines found Vex hiding in an underground bunker beneath the old palace. He was surrounded by stolen medical equipment from the Healing Dawn, including computers that could have saved thousands of lives. The Keth commander tried to fight when the Marines broke down his door, but human weapons stunned him before he could draw his plasma rifle. Colonel Do-hyun looked at the alien who had laughed while killing innocent doctors and felt only disgust. Vex was brought before Admiral Yoon Tae-ho on the bridge of the Righteous Fury. The alien commander stood in chains while the admiral read the charges against him: murder of medical personnel, destruction of a mercy mission, and theft of humanitarian supplies. Dr. Kim Hana had been brought to the flagship to identify her crewmate's killer. She looked at Vex with tears in her eyes and confirmed that he was the one who had ordered the attack on the Healing Dawn. Her voice shook as she spoke. The admiral asked Vex if he had anything to say for himself. The Keth commander spat on the floor and said that humans were weak fools for trying to help other species. He showed no regret for murdering the medical crew. Admiral Tae-ho sentenced Vex to death for war crimes against humanity. The execution would be broadcast across Keth space so that every alien would see what happened to those who attacked human healers. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, human engineers were examining the stolen medical equipment. Most of it was damaged, but some could still be repaired. The technology would be returned to Earth and used to save lives as originally intended. Captain Shin Kyung-ho received new orders from Earth Command. The human fleet would establish a permanent base in Keth space to prevent future attacks on medical missions. 3 destroyers would remain as a garrison force. The Keth government was forced to sign a peace treaty that included massive payments to the families of the murdered crew members. Every Keth world would pay taxes to Earth for the next 50 years to cover the cost of the war. More importantly, the treaty required the Keth to spread word throughout their region of space that human medical ships were under the protection of the Earth fleet. Any attack on healers would result in immediate military retaliation. News of the human victory traveled quickly across the galaxy. Alien species that had never heard of Earth suddenly became very interested in these powerful newcomers. The destruction of the Keth Empire in a single day was unprecedented. Dr. Hana returned to the Vorthak colony aboard a new medical ship called the Eternal Mercy. This time she was escorted by 3 human destroyers commanded by Captain Park Hyejin. The sick aliens would receive their treatment under armed protection. The Vorthak people wept with joy when they saw Dr. Hana again. They had thought all the human healers were dead, and their own people were doomed to die from the plague. The doctor brought enough medicine to cure their entire planet. Within 1 week, the Vorthak plague was completely eliminated. Human medical technology had saved the entire species from extinction. The grateful aliens built a memorial to the crew of the Healing Dawn in their capital city. The monument was made of white stone and showed 12 human figures helping alien children. The names of Captain Park, Jinu, Dr. Choi Wook, Nurse Yang Sora, Engineer Nam Junho, and all the other crew members were carved in both human and Vorthak languages. Admiral Tae-ho established new protocols for all human medical missions. Every mercy ship would now travel with armed escorts. Humanity would continue to offer healing to any species that needed it, but never again would healers be defenseless. The Medical Protection Fleet was created with Captain Shin Kyung-ho as its first commander. His ships would patrol the galaxy, ensuring that human doctors, nurses, and medical technicians could work without fear of attack. Dr. Hana was promoted to Chief Medical Officer of the new fleet. She designed mobile hospitals that could be set up quickly on any planet. The facilities included the most advanced medical equipment that Earth could build. The Keth survivors learned to respect human power, but also human mercy. Earth could have destroyed their entire species, but chose only to punish those responsible for the attack. The contrast impressed many alien observers. Other species began requesting human medical assistance. Word spread that Earth healers could cure diseases that local doctors could not treat. The galaxy had never seen such advanced medical technology combined with genuine compassion. The Zephyrian Republic was the first major power to sign a medical cooperation treaty with Earth. Their people suffered from a genetic disorder that human gene therapy could fix. In exchange, they provided raw materials for medical equipment. The Altarian Federation followed with their own treaty requesting help with a virus that was affecting their agricultural worlds. Human scientists developed a cure in weeks that Altarian researchers had been working on for years. As human medical missions spread across the galaxy, they were always protected by warships. The combination of healing technology and military might made Earth the most respected power in known space. Admiral Taiho retired after establishing the Medical Protection Fleet. He had kept his promise to avenge the Healing Dawn crew and ensure that future healers would be safe. The galaxy was now a more peaceful place. Dr. Hana continued her work of healing across many worlds. She carried the memory of her murdered friends with her and made sure their sacrifice had meaning. Every life she saved honored their memory. The memorial services on Earth became annual events where people remembered the 12 heroes who died trying to help strangers. School children learned about their courage, and many decided to become doctors themselves. Captain Park's son joined the Space Navy as he had promised and eventually commanded his own medical escort ship. He followed his father's example of protecting those who could not protect themselves. Engineer Junho's family established a scholarship fund for young people who wanted to study medicine or engineering. The fund helped thousands of students who shared his dream of using technology to help others. The Keith Empire never recovered from their defeat. Their remaining worlds became peaceful. Trading partners with Earth young Keth, who grew up after the war, often became doctors and nurses inspired by human compassion. 5 years later, Dr. Hana stood on the bridge of the Eternal Mercy as it approached another planet with sick people needing help. 3 destroyers flew alongside her ship, ready to protect the mission. She looked out at the stars and thought about her friends who had died on the Healing Dawn. Their dream of healing the galaxy had come true, but in a way they never expected. The galaxy was safer because Earth had shown both mercy and strength. The universe learned an important lesson that day. Humanity would offer friendship and healing to any species, but attack those healers, and Earth would respond with overwhelming force. The balance of compassion and power made the galaxy better. Dr. Hana smiled as her ship entered orbit around the new planet. Below were people who needed help, and she had the power to save them. The memory of the Healing Dawn crew lived on in every life that human medicine saved. The stars themselves seemed brighter knowing that healers could work in safety, and that those who would harm them faced the righteous fury of humanity. The galaxy had found its protectors and its healers in the same species. The red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the human starship Harmony, as massive alien vessels surrounded them in the cold darkness of space. Captain Jiwan stood calmly at his command station, watching the approaching ships on the main screen while his crew worked quietly at their posts. The ships were huge and black with sharp edges like giant knives floating through the stars. Engineer Minho looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Captain, those are Vorthak warships," he said, quietly. "Everyone in the galaxy knows about the Vorthak. They are the nightmare species that other aliens whisper about in dark corners. The ones who tear apart entire civilizations and leave nothing but empty worlds behind." Communications officer Yuna turned from her station. "Captain, they are sending a message." She said her voice was steady, but everyone could hear the fear underneath. The main screen changed to show a massive alien face covered in dark scales with yellow eyes, like burning suns, and teeth longer than human fingers. The creature looked like death itself had taken physical form. "This is War Commander Thexvar of the Vorthak Empire," the alien said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Your vessel has entered restricted space. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Your choice makes no difference to us. We will take what we want from your ship either way." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what happened when the Vorthak found other species. They killed the strong ones and enslaved the weak ones. No one had ever successfully fought them off. No one had ever negotiated with them. They were the apex predators of space, and every other species was just prey to them. Captain Jiwan stepped forward and smiled at the terrifying face on the screen. "War Commander Thexvar," he said in a friendly voice like he was greeting an old friend. "What perfect timing. We were just about to have dinner. Would you and your officers like to join us? We have plenty of food, and it would be an honor to have guests." The alien commander stared at the human captain for a long moment, his yellow eyes blinking slowly. The bridge was so quiet that everyone could hear their own heartbeat. Minho gripped his console so hard his knuckles turned white. Yuna held her breath waiting for the Vorthak to start shooting. "What did you say?" the alien commander finally asked. His voice was different now, confused instead of threatening. "You want us to what?" "Have dinner with us," Captain Jiwan repeated, still smiling. "We humans have a saying that food tastes better when shared with friends. And since we just met, I thought this would be a perfect chance to get to know each other. We have some excellent dishes prepared, and I would love to hear about your travels." The Vorthak commander leaned back in his chair looking completely bewildered. In all his years of conquest, no prey species had ever invited him to eat with them. They usually begged for mercy, or tried to fight, or offered tribute, but dinner. This was something entirely new. "Your species is either very brave or very stupid," the commander said after another long pause. Maybe both. Captain Jiwan laughed. "But we are definitely hungry. So what do you say, Commander? Would you like to try some human cooking? I promise it is better than military rations." On the Vorthak warship, War Commander Thexvar looked around at his officers. They were all staring at him with the same confused expression. None of them knew what to do. This situation was not covered in any of their battle plans. "How do you respond when your prey invites you to dinner, sub?" Commander Drex stepped forward. "War Commander, this could be some kind of trap," he said quietly. "Maybe they have poisoned their food or plan to attack us while we eat." Thexvar nodded slowly, but something about the human captain bothered him. The small creature showed no fear at all. Most species trembled when they saw Vorthak warriors. But this human was smiling and talking about food like they were old friends. Either the humans were incredibly foolish or they knew something the Vorthak did not. "I have conquered 47 worlds," Sub-Commander Thexvar said slowly. "I have seen every kind of trick and trap that prey species can devise, but I have never seen this. What kind of creature invites death to dinner?" "Maybe we should find out," suggested another officer, young Kethmar, who was barely adult by Vorthak standards. "At worst, we kill them after we eat. At best, we learn something new about this species." War Commander Thexvar made his decision. "Very well, human captain," he said, turning back to the screen. "We will accept your invitation, but know this. If this is some kind of trick, you will die slowly." "Excellent." Captain Jiwan clapped his hands together. "How many will be joining us?" Thexvar looked around his bridge. "I will bring 5 officers," he said. "Perfect. Yuna will send you docking coordinates." Captain Jiwan said, "We will have everything ready in 30 minutes. Oh, and Commander, do any of your people have food allergies or dietary restrictions? We want to make sure everyone can enjoy the meal." The communication ended, and the Vorthak ships moved into docking position. The human crew stood in shocked silence for a moment before Captain Jiwan turned to them with a big grin on his face. "Well," he said, "you heard our guests. Let's prepare a feast that they will never forget. Minho, I need you to make sure the dining hall environmental controls can handle their biology. Yuna, contact the kitchen and tell them we need food for 6 Vorthak warriors and make it impressive." But Captain Minho said, "Are you sure about this? The Vorthak are killers. They have destroyed entire civilizations. What if they attack us during dinner? Then we die with full stomachs." Captain G1 said simply, "But I do not think they will. The commander could have destroyed us already if that was his plan. Instead, he is curious, and curiosity is the first step toward friendship." The crew hurried to prepare for their unusual dinner guests. The kitchen staff worked frantically to prepare enough food for beings 3 times human size. The maintenance crew adjusted the dining hall chairs and environmental systems. Yuna practiced pronouncing Vorthak names so she could properly introduce everyone. 30 minutes later, the airlock doors opened and 6 massive Vorthak warriors entered the human ship. They had to duck to fit through the corridors, and their footsteps made the deck plates vibrate. Each one carried weapons that could cut through ship hulls and wore armor that could stop laser blasts. Captain Jiwon met them at the entrance to the dining hall, wearing his best uniform and his biggest smile. "Welcome aboard the Harmony," he said, bowing slightly. "I am Captain Jiwon, and this is my crew. We are honored to have you as our guest's war commander." Thexvar looked around the dining hall, taking in the soft lighting, warm colors, and the smell of cooking food. It was unlike anything he had ever seen on a warship. There were no weapons visible, no defensive positions, just tables and chairs, and the promise of a shared meal. "This is very strange, human," he said quietly. "Your ship feels like a home, not a weapon. That is because it is." Both Captain Jiwon replied, leading them to their seats. "We explore the galaxy to find new friends, not new enemies. Now please sit and let us show you what human hospitality really means." The dining hall of the human starship had never hosted such unusual guests. War Commander Thexvar and his 5 officers sat awkwardly at the enlarged table, their massive forms making the furniture creak with every movement. The Vorthak warriors kept looking around nervously as if expecting an ambush at any moment. Captain Jiwon sat across from the alien commander, with his usual calm smile, while his crew served steaming dishes of food. The humans moved freely around their dangerous guests, showing no fear at all. This confused the Vorthak more than any weapon could have. Medical Officer Sunho approached the table carrying a scanning device. "Commander Thexvar," he said politely, "I hope you do not mind, but I would like to scan your biology to make sure our food is safe for you to eat. We want to be good hosts." The Vorthak commander stared at the small human doctor. This creature was offering to help him. The same species that should be cowering in terror was worried about his health. It made no sense according to everything he knew about prey species. "You may scan," Sub-Commander Drek spoke up before his commander could respond, "but know that any treachery will result in your immediate death." "Of course." Sunho nodded as if death threats were normal dinner conversation. He ran his scanner over the nearest Vorthak warrior and studied the results with interest. "How fascinating," he said. "Your species appears to be omnivorous, despite your reputation as pure predators. Your digestive system can handle both meat and plant matter." Sub-Commander Drek shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "How do you know this, human? Your enzyme patterns and stomach structure?" Sunho explained cheerfully. "Also, your teeth, while very sharp, include molars for grinding plant material. You are built to eat many different foods just like humans are." The Vorthak officers exchanged glances. This was information they kept hidden from other species. The galaxy believed they were pure carnivorous killers who lived only for the hunt. It was part of their fearsome reputation. But somehow this human doctor had figured out their secret in minutes. War Commander Thexvar decided to test these strange humans. "Tell me, Captain Jiwon," he said slowly. "What do you know about the Vorthak Empire only?" "What everyone knows," Captain Jiwon replied. "You are the strongest military force in the galaxy. You have conquered many worlds and other species fear you greatly, but I am more interested in learning about you as people, not as warriors, as people." The words struck Thexvar like a physical blow. No one had ever asked about the Vorthak as people. They were seen as monsters, weapons, living nightmares, but never as individuals with hopes and dreams and fears. Young Kethmar, the youngest of the Vorthak officers, spoke up suddenly. "War Commander, may I tell them about our homeworld?" Thexvar looked sharply at his subordinate but saw genuine curiosity in the humans' faces, not mockery or fear. "Tell them," he said quietly. "Our world is dying," Kethmar said, his voice heavy with sadness. "The great forests that once covered our continents are gone. The rivers run empty, and the soil grows nothing. The elders say it has been dying for over 200 years. "That is terrible," said Communications Officer Yuna with real sympathy in her voice. "What happened to it?" "War, we think," Kethmar replied. "We fought ourselves for so long that we poisoned our own world. Then when we finally united and went to the stars, we found that fighting was all we knew, how to do well. We became what the galaxy needed us to be. Monsters." The humans listened in stunned silence. This was not what they expected to hear from the galaxy's most feared predators. These were not bloodthirsty killers, but refugees from a dying world forced into violence by desperation. Navigator Hyun leaned forward. If your world is dying, why not ask for help? There are many species with terraforming technology who might be willing to assist. The Vorthak officers looked at each other with bitter expressions. Who would help us? Sub-Commander Drex asked. The galaxy sees us as demons. We have spent centuries building that reputation. Every species we encounter either runs away or tries to destroy us. None would risk helping the Vorthak, but you never asked, Captain Jiwon pointed out. You built your reputation on fear so completely that no one knows who you really are underneath. Have you ever tried simply asking for help without threats or weapons? Never. Thexvar admitted. The strong do not ask for help. They take what they need. Engineer Minho, who had been quiet during the meal, suddenly spoke up. That sounds lonely, he said, living like that, never being able to show weakness or ask for friendship. It must be exhausting. The simple observation hit the Vorthak commander harder than any insult could have. It was exhausting. Beyond exhausting centuries of maintaining their terrifying image, while their homeworld slowly died around them, fighting endless wars for resources they could have obtained through trade. All because they were afraid to show any sign of weakness. The food arrived, interrupting the heavy conversation. The human crew had prepared a feast that included both plant and animal dishes, accommodating the Vorthak omnivorous nature. The aliens stared at the abundance of food more than they had seen in one place for years. Please eat. Captain Jiwon gestured to the dishes. We prepared everything with care. The Vorthak warriors hesitated. They were not used to accepting gifts from other species. Everything they had they took by force, but the food smelled incredible and they were hungrier than they wanted to admit. War Commander Thexvar took the first bite. His eyes widened in surprise. The flavors were complex and satisfying, nothing like the processed rations his people survived on during their long campaigns. When was the last time he had tasted food prepared with care, instead of just fuel for survival? This is excellent, he said, and his officers began eating as well. Science. Officer Kyung smiled. We grow much of our food hydroponically on the ship. Fresh vegetables and herbs make all the difference. Our chef Daehoon studied cooking techniques from dozens of different worlds. You have a chef on a military vessel, Sub-Commander? Drex asked in amazement. Every ship should have good food. Captain Jiwon laughed. Life is too short for bad meals. Besides, sharing food brings people together. It is hard to fight someone after you have eaten their cooking. As the meal continued, the conversation grew more relaxed. The Vorthak officers began sharing stories of their homeworld before it started dying. They spoke of great libraries and artistic achievements hidden beneath their warrior culture. The humans listened with genuine interest, asking questions and showing sympathy for their struggles. Young Kethmar surprised everyone by admitting, I have always wanted to see the great museums of other worlds, but we only visit planets to conquer them. I dream of learning about art and music instead of warfare. You could visit our cultural centers anytime, Navigator Hyun offered. We have art galleries and concert halls on most human worlds. You would be welcome as a guest, not a conqueror. The idea seemed impossible to the young Vorthak, but the humans spoke as if it was the most natural thing in the galaxy, as if former enemies could simply choose to become friends instead. By the end of the meal, something had changed in the dining hall. The tension was gone, replaced by something the Vorthak had not experienced in centuries. Acceptance, understanding. The beginning of friendship. As they prepared to leave, War Commander Thexvar turned to Captain Jiwon. This has been most unusual, human, he said. Your species confuses me but also intrigues me. The feeling is mutual. Commander Captain Jiwon replied, Would you consider meeting again? Perhaps we could arrange more dinners like this. Thexvar nodded slowly. Yes, I think that would be acceptable. But tell me, why do you show us such kindness when you know what we are? Because Captain Jiwon said simply, we see who you could be, not just who you have been. Everyone deserves a chance to choose a different path. News of the impossible dinner spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communications could carry it. Captain Jiwan had done something that no being in recorded history had ever achieved. He had sat down to eat with the Vorthak and lived to tell about it. More than that, he had somehow made friends with the most feared predators in known space, on the Galactic Council station orbiting the neutral world of Kepler Prime. Emergency sessions were being called every few hours. Council members from dozens of species gathered in heated debate about what this unprecedented event meant for galactic security. Some called it madness, others called it hope. The crystalline beings known as the Nexari sent urgent messages to their homeworld. The energy creatures called the Flux began gathering in unusual patterns near human space. Even the machine intelligence of the synthetic collective paused their calculations to analyze this new data, but the most dramatic reactions came from the predator species themselves. The shark-like Scarites who had long admired Vorthak military efficiency suddenly found themselves questioning their own aggressive policies. If the mighty Vorthak could sit peacefully with soft-skinned humans, what did that mean for everyone else? Meanwhile, aboard the human exploration ship, Harmony Captain Jiwan found himself hosting an increasingly busy social calendar. 3 more Vorthak warships had arrived in the system, their commanders curious about these strange humans who showed no fear. Subcommander Drex had requested permission to bring his entire crew for dinner, saying his warriors needed to see this miracle for themselves. The ship's dining hall had been expanded twice to accommodate the growing number of alien guests. Engineer Minho worked around the clock installing new environmental systems to handle different atmospheric requirements, while Chef Dehun experimented with recipes that could satisfy multiple species' dietary needs. Communications Officer Yuna coordinated with other human vessels throughout the sector, encouraging them to try similar diplomatic dinners. The response was enthusiastic. Human captains reported successful meals with previously hostile species, including the territorial Krex Empire and the isolationist Voidwalkers. The program that Yuna had started calling dinner diplomacy was proving incredibly effective at preventing conflicts and building understanding. Captain Soyon of the merchant vessel Prosperity reported that a potential pirate attack had turned into a 3-hour feast when she invited the raiders aboard for lunch. But not everyone was pleased with these developments. On the human military base at Titan Station, Admiral Kangman paced his office reading reports with growing concern. The Vorthak could be planning the largest ambush in galactic history. He told his staff, "We are letting our guard down because they shared a meal with us." Similar concerns were being raised among the Vorthak Elder Council. On their fortress, World War leader Vex stood before the assembled elders arguing that their warriors were being corrupted by human softness. "The humans make our people weak with their talk of friendship and peace," he declared. "We are predators, not pets." The real test of these new relationships came when extremists from both sides decided to take action. A group of human hardliners led by Colonel Wubin believed that the Vorthak were simply gathering intelligence for a massive strike. They began planning a preemptive attack on the alien vessels. At the same time, a faction of traditional Vorthak warriors under War Chief Zorth felt that their species' honor was being stained by these peaceful dinners. They prepared to remind the galaxy why the Vorthak were feared by attacking the next diplomatic meeting. The stage was set for disaster when Captain Jiwan announced a grand dinner aboard Harmony Station, a massive space platform that had been hastily constructed to accommodate large-scale diplomatic gatherings. Representatives from over 20 species were invited, including humans Vorthak and several others who had begun participating in the dinner diplomacy program. War Commander Thexvar arrived with his usual escort. But this time he brought something unexpected. A small potted plant from his dying homeworld. It was one of the last living specimens of Vorthak flora, a gift for the humans who had shown his people such kindness. Young Kethmar carried a collection of Vorthak poetry translated into human language, while Subcommander Drex brought detailed star charts of Vorthak space. These were not the actions of beings planning treachery, but of people hoping to build genuine friendships. The dinner began beautifully. The Great Hall of Harmony Station buzzed with conversation, as dozens of species shared food and stories. The Nexari displayed their crystal formations in beautiful patterns, while the Skarites performed traditional hunting songs that had been adapted for peaceful celebrations. Captain G1 stood to make a toast, raising his glass to the assembled guests. 6 months ago, he said, many of you were strangers or even enemies. Today we sit together as friends. This proves that understanding is possible between any peoples if we just take the time to really see each other. The attack came without warning. Explosions rocked the station as extremist forces from multiple species launched their assault. Colonel Wubin's human strike force came from one direction while War Chief Zorth's Vorthak traditionalists attacked from another. The dining hall filled with smoke and the sound of weapons fire. But something remarkable happened. Instead of the chaos and betrayal that the attackers expected, in the face of danger, humans and Vorthak worked together to protect the innocent beings present. Captain G1 and War Commander Thexvar stood back to back, coordinating the defense of civilian guests. Engineer Minho found himself fighting alongside Vorthak warrior Drakthol, using his technical knowledge to complement the aliens' combat skills. Medical Officer Sunho and Vorthak healer Vex worked together to treat wounded beings from multiple species, their previous dinner conversations having taught them about each other's medical techniques. Communications Officer Yuna coordinated with Vorthak Subcommander Drex to evacuate non-combatants to secure areas. They had learned to work together during their many shared meals, and now that cooperation was saving lives. The extremists had expected their attack to shatter the fragile peace between species. Instead, they found themselves facing a united defense of beings who had chosen friendship over fear. The humans fought with Vorthak strength, while the Vorthak protected others with human compassion. Young Kethmar surprised everyone by throwing himself between a human child and an incoming blast. His quick thinking saved the youngster, but left him badly injured. As human medics rushed to help him, he looked up at Captain G1 and smiled weakly. "This is what friendship means," he whispered. The battle was over within an hour. The attackers were either captured or had fled when they realized their assault was failing. But more importantly, the shared danger had forged bonds between the dinner guests that went far deeper than polite conversation. As the wounded were treated and the damage assessed, something beautiful emerged from the chaos species that had never trusted each other. Before now worked side by side in the rescue efforts. The Nexari used their crystal formations to provide emergency lighting, while the Skarites organized supply distributions. War Commander Thexvar found Captain G1 helping to clear debris from a collapsed section. The human captain was dirty and tired but still smiling. "We make a good team, Commander," he said simply. The Vorthak leader nodded slowly. "Yes, we do," he replied, "and I think we always have. We just never knew it before." The attack had been meant to destroy the growing friendship between species. Instead, it had proven that these bonds were strong enough to survive even the worst attempts to break them. The dinner table had become more than just a place to share food. It had become a symbol of hope for a better galaxy. The aftermath of the attack brought changes that no one expected. The wounded from both human and Vorthak sides were treated in the same medical bay, creating scenes that would have been impossible just months before Medical Officer Sunho worked alongside Vorthak healer Vex, sharing knowledge and techniques that saved lives from multiple species. Captain G1 watched as human nurses carefully tended to injured Vorthak warriors, while alien medics used their precise claws to perform delicate surgery on human patients. The barrier between species seemed to dissolve completely when lives were at stake. Young Kethmar lay in a recovery bed surrounded by flowers and gifts from grateful families whose children he had protected during the attack. The young Vorthak warrior had become a hero to multiple species, but he seemed most proud of a simple drawing made by the human child he had saved. War Commander Thexvar spent hours at his young officer's bedside, speaking quietly in their native language. Captain G1 joined them, often bringing updates about the investigation into the attack and sharing stories about human heroes who had made similar sacrifices. "The attack has backfired completely," Communications Officer Yuna reported to Captain G1 as they reviewed the latest galactic news feeds. "Instead of driving species apart, it has brought them closer together. Requests for dinner diplomacy meetings have increased by 300%. The evidence was everywhere. Throughout, human space alien vessels were arriving peacefully, asking for chances to share meals and build friendships. The Krex Empire had officially requested cultural exchange programs. The mysterious Void Walkers had emerged from their isolation to offer trade agreements. Most remarkably, the Scarite swarm had sent a formal apology for their previous aggressive behavior. Their hive queens announced that they wanted to learn human methods of peaceful cooperation instead of relying purely on predatory instincts. But the biggest changes were happening between humans and Vorthak. The attack had proven that their friendship was real, and both species began working together on projects that would benefit everyone. Engineer Minho collaborated with Vorthak technicians to design new medical equipment that combined human innovation with Vorthak precision. Their first creation was a surgical device that could perform operations impossible for either species alone. The breakthrough came when Vorthak engineers shared the secret of their incredibly strong materials. Human scientists had wondered for years how Vorthak ships could withstand weapons that destroyed other vessels. Now they learned it was not just advanced metal, but a combination of technology and biology. In return, humans offered their terraforming knowledge to help restore the dying Vorthak homeworld. Science Officer Kyung led a joint research team that included the best minds from both species working to find ways to bring life back. To poison soil and empty rivers, the collaboration produced results faster than anyone expected. Within weeks, they had developed new techniques that showed promise for environmental restoration. The Vorthak home system received its first shipment of human-grown seeds and soil bacteria designed to begin the healing process. Navigator Hyun started a cultural exchange program that allowed young beings from different species to visit each other's worlds. Vorthak youth came to human colonies to study art and music, while human students traveled to Vorthak space to learn about their ancient poetry and philosophy. The dinner table remained central to all these developments. Every new agreement, every breakthrough, every friendship began with a shared meal. Captain Jiwon established regular weekly dinners that rotated between different species' homeworlds, giving everyone a chance to be host. The most moving dinner took place on the Vorthak homeworld itself. Captain Jiwon and his crew were the first non-Vorthak beings ever invited to set foot on the sacred soil. War Commander Thexvar personally escorted them through the dying forests and empty cities, explaining the history of his people's struggles. The humans saw the true cost of centuries of warfare. Entire continents lay barren from ancient battles and industrial pollution. Rivers that once flowed with crystal-clear water now ran thick with contamination. The great cities that had housed millions of Vorthak now stood mostly empty, but they also saw signs of hope. Small green shoots were beginning to emerge where human seeds had been planted. Clean water flowed in test areas where new filtration systems had been installed. The restoration would take generations, but it had begun. The dinner on the Vorthak homeworld included traditional foods that had not been served for decades. War Commander Thexvar explained that many ingredients had become extinct during the environmental collapse, but human botanists had managed to recreate some of them using genetic samples as they ate. Captain Jiwon noticed tears in the eyes of several Vorthak elders who were tasting flavors from their childhood for the first time in years. The simple act of sharing a meal had become a bridge not just between species but between past and future. Other species began joining the restoration effort. The Nexari contributed their knowledge of crystal-based water purification, while the energy beings known as the Flux helped design new power systems that would not pollute the environment. Even former enemies wanted to help. The Krex Empire sent shipments of rare minerals needed for the restoration, while the Void Walkers shared their expertise in atmospheric processing. Each species brought something unique to the massive project. The transformation went beyond just environmental restoration. Vorthak society itself was changing. Young warriors like Kethmar were being trained in peaceful arts, alongside traditional combat skills. The ancient Vorthak academies were reopening their doors to teach literature, philosophy, and science instead of just warfare. Sub-Commander Drex surprised everyone by requesting assignment to the cultural exchange program. He wanted to learn human diplomatic techniques and help train other Vorthak in peaceful negotiation. The feared warrior became a student of poetry and music, much to the amazement of his former enemies. The success of the Human-Vorthak alliance inspired other species To attempt similar partnerships, the Scarite swarm began hosting dinners with their former prey species, finding that cooperation produced better results than predation. The crystalline Nexari established cultural centers on multiple worlds, where beings could come to share food and ideas in beautiful crystal gardens. The energy beings of the Flux created spectacular light shows during diplomatic dinners, turning every meal into a celebration. But perhaps the most important change was in how conflicts were resolved throughout the galaxy. Instead of immediately resorting to warfare, species were now trying dinner diplomacy first. The success rate was remarkable. Most disputes could be solved simply by getting the opposing sides to sit down and eat together. Captain G1 received reports from across human space of successful, peaceful resolutions to conflicts that might have led to years of fighting. The simple human tradition of hospitality was transforming galactic politics, one meal at a time, as he read the reports in his quarters. Captain G1 smiled, thinking about how far they had all come. A year ago, the Vorthak were the most feared species in the galaxy. Now children from dozens of worlds played together in integrated schools while their parents worked side by side on projects that benefited everyone. The dinner table had become more than furniture. It was a symbol of hope, proof that even the most impossible friendships could grow when beings chose to see each other as people rather than enemies. The galaxy was becoming a place where differences were celebrated rather than feared, and it all started with one simple invitation to share a meal.